Oh yeah. You know what time it is? It's Jamez Report time, baby. It's the Jamez Report time, baby. We're hype up in here. AEW action. I got the news. I got the reports right here. Don't turn that channel. Don't go screaming, scrolling down the screen. Stick around and find out what Mr. Jamez has to say about AEW last night. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Jamez Report. It's a rainy day outside, at least. I'm sorry that you had to adjust to what you're adjusting to right now. I wasn't prepared for the rain. Otherwise, I had a nicer, beautiful setup because Mr. Jamez, just listen to what I got to say. It's not about the fanciness. It's about the product that I put out there for you guys each and every week. So we're back at it. AEW last night. I got to say one thing getting into this. AEW was not as exciting. It did not have my attention as much as it did the week prior and a couple of weeks prior for that matter. Now, before I get into it, let me say this, that there were some good spots in it. MJF, we're going to get into him. Is he the best heel out there right now? That includes WWE. Who is the TNT champion? Who is Jon Moxley's next opponent looking likely is going to be? All that and more here on the Jamez Report. Last night, they started it off with the Inner Circle in a 10-man tag team match with Jurassic Express alongside the Best Friends, and you guessed it, Mr. Coolness himself, Orange Cassidy. Now, this match had a lot of potential, and Jim Ross was definitely having his complaints in the middle of all of this. And I have to tell you something. I was on Jim Ross's side. Now, give credit where credit is due. Tony Schiavone stepped in. If you guys have watched it, would have seen the chaos that erupted. For the longest time, I didn't know who the legal man is. There was a lot of, I'm going to do my spots, and that's it. There was no teamwork. There was no fluent movement for a tag team match. It was not a tornado tag team match, as Jim Ross would point out, saying, did this get switched over to a tornado tag team match? But Tony Schiavone would say, this is what people want to see. This is what our fans want to see. They want to see everybody in the ring doing these ooh-ah moves. And I'm using my own paraphrase on that, but he was defending what was happening in the ring. Jim Ross was not having none of it. And frankly, I can't blame Jim Ross. Because maybe it's the old school blood in me. But I believe if you're going to have a 10 tag team match, yes, you need a little chaos. Listen, you got to have some chaos to keep the entertainment side of things. So, yes, there has to be some chaos. But it was just a disaster on the chaos side. The referee had no control whatsoever. And this is Aubrey Edwards we're talking about, someone who is probably the best referee in AEW right now. And people was just going mad inside the ring. Was it entertaining to an extent? Absolutely. Jurassic Express would pick up the win. Matt Hardy would interfere in this match by pushing Sammy Guevara off the ropes. I don't know where this is going. It seems like Matt Hardy and Sammy is going to be going at it even longer now than what was intended. But overall, it wasn't that exciting of a way to start off AEW. Now, it would recover itself, though. So stick with me. It recovered itself with the TNT Championship match. Warhorse versus Cody Rhodes. Warhorse is an internet store, an indie store in the wrestling industry. He kind of reminds me of Nightwolf off of Mortal Kombat. And you know what? It's fine. He had the Nightwolf appearance, the face paint, all that. But he wasn't exactly copying him. He was Warhorse, baby. He was out there, and he was a Warhorse. This is another solid match that Cody Rhodes put on with someone that we didn't know about. So give credit where credit is due. These young comers coming in here that some of us don't even know who they are. And these veterans coming in here that we don't even know who they was from last week, and they're putting on stellar performances. And let me tell you something, the heel Cody is coming, but that's not the big thing. The big thing is someone returned last night. Well, shouldn't say returned. Someone debuted last night, and that man was Matt Cardone, better known as Zack Ryder, debuts on AEW, saving Cody Rhodes from the Dark Order attack. Now, I don't know why the Dark Order got involved after this match. I can only guess it's because they have somewhat of a rivalry with Omega and Hangman Adam Page. But I have no idea why they got involved. But next week it will be a match with Mr. Matt Cardome, and I'm trying to get his name right because it is a little different for old Mr. Jamez. I'm used to calling him Mr. Woo Woo Woo. Zack Ryder, you know it. So, that all being said, the debate between Jericho and Orange Cassidy, Jericho would come out after that match, and he would make an announcement that there will be a debate. Now, you tell me how you're going to have a debate with someone who just puts his hand in the pocket and puts on and takes off his sunglasses. I have no idea how this is going to go. Chris Jericho better get his wind intake up because he's going to be talking an awful lot. But there's supposed to be a mediator there, and as a special guest mediator, Jericho had chills talking about who the special guest mediator is. That being said, who do you guys think the mediator is going to be? It's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, or it's going to be somebody who was no longer part of WWE for say. Also, if you like this content, hit the like button, hit the share button, and do not forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss out on one of these videos. When I post it, bing, it comes up letting you know that, hey, Mr. Jamez came out with another Jamez report. And like I said, you notice the change of scenery going on around here? It's because it's raining outside my house. I want to say it's raining cat and dogs, but it's definitely raining mice and rats out there, okay? So that all being said, that's going in August 12th, it's Tag Team Appreciation Night. It's going to be hosted by FTR. And I can say this, that the tag team division is a little bit better. It's a little bit more organized in AEW than in WWE. So that's something they got going for them here in the future. But that all being said, speaking of tag team, Dark Order will be going against Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega for the AEW Tag Team Championship titles. And let me tell you something. This right here, I'm going to say it out loud, was the match of the night. Was it extremely exciting? No. It wasn't a lot of flips. It wasn't a lot of high-flying maneuvers, but there was a lot of tag team, classic tag team variables that came into play. Dark Order cut off the ring, kept Hangman Adam Page away from Kenny Omega for a good solid 5 to 10 minutes. And the Dark Order was showing the veteran skills, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, the veteran skills out there by what they was doing as a tag team. There was no sloppiness. There was no mistakes for say that which I could see. Kenny Omega did an awesome job, and Hangman Adam Page did an awesome job of being a tag team. It's kind of like they fed off of what Evil Uno and Stu Grayson was doing. It's almost like they was rising to the occasion as being a tag team because both of them stars are used to being not single talents. And the fact that they've held on to the AEW tag team titles this long has been a shock for me, to say the very least. Now, Dark Order put on this great match. It was an awesome match. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. The Dark Order came out and just did a superb job of showing you how classic tag team can still be exciting. It was a classic tag team match. Like I said, there was some fancy moves, but it was the right timing. See, timing is everything. Any of you guys that have stepped inside of a squared circle knows that timing is everything to connect with the fans. If you do something spectacular at the wrong time, it does not hit the fans as much. And that's saying something through the TV. Being able to watch this through the TV to draw your attention and go, oh, holy crap, because there was a lot of, oh my God, Dark Order's about to win the tag team titles here. I was very drawn into the match. I couldn't look away from the match. It was that good, and that drew me right in. Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page would go on to get this victory. And excited as I was about this match, there's something I really need to just get off my chest here. And I know, I've been ragging on the Young Bucks here the last couple of weeks, but they did it again. The match between Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega. Why are they cutting away from the match? To show the Young Bucks sitting out there in the audience. I know they showed Kazarian, but why are you cutting away from the match, period? Stay on your talent in the ring. Keep my interest in what's going on in the ring. I don't care what the Young Bucks are doing. The actions inside the ring. When you take the cameras off of the action inside the ring, you're kind of disrupting people's attention. They're not going to pay attention to the match no more. Now they're going to wonder why are the Young Bucks there? Are they getting ready to get involved in something? What exactly is going on? And I, for one, was drawn away from the match, but it drew me back in. At the end of the match, Evil Uno would be attacked by Mr. Brody Lee. Colt Cabana was on commentated, by the way. I don't know where Excalibur was this last night. Taz filled in for the whole night with Colt Cabana coming in, making it a four-man commentary team. Jim Ross was also in a very grumpy mood, but we're going to get into that in just a few minutes. But anyway, so they lose the match. Mr. Brody Lee sends Colt Cabana to the entrance, gets him off the stage because he don't want him to see what's going on, and he begins to verbally and physically assault Evil Uno. Not as much as he's assaulted these other Dark Order members, but just enough to say, "Are you flipping kidding me that you lost this match? This was all opportunity, and you lost this match." Now, that being said, all the members of Dark Order, a bunch of them come out, and I don't know all the numbers. Number 99, number 100, number 101, number 222, all this stuff. All these guys came out of everywhere, and they would jump in to attack Adam Page and Kenny Omega. Here comes the Young Bucks. And then FTR would come. And this is where my frustration begins. Really begins. Why are the Young Bucks, once again, sticking themselves, and it is themselves because they are in charge of the tag team division, in Kenny Omega's storyline? Not everything revolves around the Young Bucks in AEW. I read a thing one time, and I have to agree, that if AEW wants to succeed, it cannot focus and be about the elite all the time. Yes, I know it's all elite wrestling, but there's other talents there that you have to give them an opportunity to shine. You have to give them that chance to go out there and have their own storylines. Not everything needs a Young Bucks. To me, that shows egotistical, that shows prideful, that shows that they have to be in every major storyline, and I got facts to back this up, folks. I'm not just going off on the whim because it upset me, or because I don't like the Young Bucks. No, I think they're a very talented tag team. I've said this before. But here's the thing. Think back to when they was on the Jericho Cruise. The MJF versus Cody Rhodes storyline. Why was the Young Bucks involved in that storyline in the first place? They come out and they throw MJF in the pool. MJF had nothing to do with the Young Bucks. It was about Cody Rhodes and MJF. And here comes the Young Bucks out and saving Cody. 2 weeks ago, the Butcher and the Blade had a rivalry building, a great storyline building, in my opinion, an entertaining one, with the truck and the keys of FTRs and owning it and have stolen the truck and that. And the Young Bucks get involved in that match, get involved in that storyline, kill that storyline with FTR. They then have a match that Butcher and the Blade desperately needed to win from a career standpoint, a loss that would not hurt the Young Bucks, and they defeat the Butcher and the Blade at the same time, mind you, to win the Falls Count Anywhere match. They do not need to be in every flippin' storyline. You can get on your comments. Please let me know what you think on that. I'll have a conversation with you. I'm ready to go to war about it. Yes, I know they're an outstanding tag team. Yes, I know they deserve a lot of props. But here's the thing. The tag team division of AEW will not continue to grow. It will begin to suffer as long as every potential storyline must involve the Young Bucks in some shape or form. They need to step out of the spotlight of the main storylines and let these other tag teams have their moment to shine, like point blank and period. Kazarian being shown, I kind of understood it. Did I like they pulled away from the match? No. But SCU and the Dark Order have had their issues. It made sense to me. The logic was there. They've had their issues. Young Bucks did not need to be involved in this match. Next week it will be a 12-man tag team match. Dark Order versus FTR versus Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. I really hope that they have everything in order. I really hope that this is not a chaotic match. Aubrey Edwards is shown as being the referee, so I really hope that they learn from what JR was saying. And I know a lot of people say, well, JR is just a grumpy old man. Well, JR likes to protect the business. Yes, I know the business has changed. Yes, I know things are different now. Yes, I know that there's some things that must change. But at the end of the day, there are traditions in wrestling, and any of you who wrestle know this. There are traditions in wrestling that you must hold. Yes, chaos is good, but there must be some shape or form of order. There must be a calming point, a happy medium. There has to be that person, that pendulum that swings it back into a controlled environment. It cannot be hectic all the time. Hectic is not good all the time. That being said, I got some exciting news on the Women's Tag Team Cup division tournament. The tournament, and I have the rules right here. I do write my notes down, ladies and gentlemen. It is a report. But before I go any further, what do you guys think about the Dark Order and the Young Bucks thing? Am I completely wrong about the Young Bucks? Let me know. Tell me, am I completely wrong? Am I thinking of the Young Bucks? And we'll have a conversation. I promise you I won't yell. I'm about to lose my voice now from that whole thing I just had. Episode, you could say. So that all being said, the update on the Women's Tag Team Cup tournament is the tournament is a random draw. The competitors must draw a caller. Matching callers will become a tag team. Selections are final and cannot be appealed. So, for instance, Nyla Rose drew purple. They did a little presentation. And she would be teamed up with Ariana as a tag team partner. I don't personally know who Ariana is. I know she's on AEW Dark. She has returned. But so, even though Nyla Rose don't want to tag team up with her, she's going to tag team up with her. So I'm really excited about this Tag Team Cup for the women's division. One thing I can say about AEW is that they are learning how to involve the women in different ways. I don't believe that the women is a bathroom break by any mean, but is the women's division AEW up to par with the WWE women's division? No, I don't say that negatively. I'm just being a realist about it. So this is a different women's division, but they're doing something that has not been done in WWE as far as my knowledge. So that is something to look forward to. I look forward to see how this tournament comes out. I said I was going to talk about Mr. MJF. And ladies and gentlemen, we're at that point. MJF, hashtag not my champion. He pretty much comes out and says that I'm challenging Jon Moxley. But he doesn't just say he's challenging Jon Moxley. He attacks AEW's wrestling division as a whole, saying that the fans want this flip-flop-fly wrestling matches where it's like, ooh, that's amazing. That was awesome. Putting people together that has no build-up, no storyline behind it, no history behind it, nothing to get you involved. That's the classic traditional wrestling that I'm talking about that needs to stay the same. You must have a heel, you must have a face, because it makes the storyline in a match so much more intriguing. It makes it better. It makes you and I as a fan invest in the match and say, this is who I want to win, this is who I want to lose, and why. Because this person's a heel, I want them to win because, you know what? I want to see the bad guy get one over on the good guy. This person's a face, they need to take that bad guy and shove their teeth so far down their throat that they'll need to take a toothbrush to up the rear end to brush their teeth. That's the thing about traditional wrestling. Yes, the high-flying stuff is great. Yes, the ooh-ah moments are amazing. But what do you remember from the matches with all kinds of the high-flying and ooh-ah moments? Not a whole lot, because everything blends together. You need something that pulls you in and goes, I remember that time that The Rock hit the Stone Cold Stunner on Steve Austin at WrestleMania 21. Or was it WrestleMania 19? Either way, I'm going to get in the next video. I will be correct. So if someone's got the right date on that, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Once again, hit that subscribe button if you like this content. That way you always get notifications about my videos when they come out. Now, MJF will go on to attack the ratings, saying everyone's talking about ratings this, ratings that, ratings this, ratings that. And he says that he statistically brings in more views than Jon Moxley. And it's factual. Jon Moxley is your AEW champion. He needs a new competitor. Brian Cage was not the competitor that I was hoping he was going to be. I don't think he was the competitor that anybody was hoping to be for the AEW championship match with Jon Moxley. Now, MJF goes on to challenge Jon Moxley. I knew this was coming. Sooner or later, I didn't know it'd be against Jon Moxley, but sooner or later, MJF was going after that AEW championship. And I'm going to tell you right now, MJF might be the best heel in the wrestling industry right now, or close to. And the reason I say that is because how many times have you seen MJF and go, I want to hit that guy straight in the face? That's what a hero's supposed to do. The man does not break kayfabe. He flips off little kids. He stays in character in public. He stays in character on Twitter and social media outlets. The man stays in character. You know who else stayed in character? The Undertaker. So put them, I'm not comparing them to him, I'm not putting them two together. I'm not saying MJF is on Undertaker's caliber. What I'm saying is that he has the potential to be one of the greatest wrestling stars in the wrestling industry because he's not breaking kayfabe. And that is something that you do not see anymore in the wrestling industry. So I respect MJF because of that. I still want to punch him in the face, but I respect him because of that. Now on to the main event. Jon Moxley, Darby Allin versus Brian Cage and Richie Starks. This will start with Jon Moxley coming to the ring after Darby Allin was a no-show, and we had no idea what Darby Allin is. One could assume that he was getting jumped by Brian Cage as that moment was taking place. But instead it shows Taz with Brian Cage and Richie Starks, and Taz begins to talk about Jon Moxley. And then Taz does something out of spite of me. Maybe he heard my video. Maybe he listened to my podcast. Taz, if you're listening, I'm so happy you listened to what I had to say. Most likely it wasn't what Mr. Jamez right here said. It's probably from what Bully Ray was saying week in and week out. Even what JR said on the Busted Open podcast as well. And that is, he takes Brian Cage and says, here, buddy, stand in front of me. That way we don't make, and I'm paraphrasing, certain people mad. That was a smart move by Taz, even though it was spiteful. Even though I don't know if I agree with it being so spiteful, it kind of can give him a bad. But that's who Taz is. It might give him a bad review. It might get some people stirred up, but that's who Taz is. Taz would then return to the commentary booth and let Richie Stark tell you who he is, tell you why he teamed up with Taz, etc., etc. He goes out there. They put on a solid match. Darby Allin jumps him right when they're out the gate. He comes out of the middle entrance, jumps Brian Cage, jumps Richie Starks, and here we go. As great as this match was, and as good as this match was, it was a solid match. It wasn't spectacular. Brian Cage has not impressed me very much in the ring. I don't know if that's by his own doing. I don't know if AEW writers is keeping him from shining as much as I've seen him shine on Impact Wrestling and Lucha Underground. But he is not shining the way I thought he would shine. I'm really kind of worried he did a better job. At one point, he had Moxley and Darby Allin on him, and he did look like a Moxley. He did look like a machine. Right now, and this is my comparison, and this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to use Brock Lesnar. I've used Brock Lesnar in the past. Look at Lance Archer. Look at Brian Cage. What is Lance Archer doing different compared to what Brian Cage is doing? Lance Archer goes out and destroys people. Brian Cage goes out and hides behind Richie Starks. He goes out and hides behind Taz. Yes, he gets some involvement. He goes out there and gets controlled by referees. Go back and watch AEW if you have it on DVR. Go back and watch it. He's getting controlled when the man is built like a flipping brick house. He should not be getting controlled by referees. He should not be going out there and selling bumps that he's selling to people like Darby Allin and even Jon Moxley. Not as many as he's selling. My God, Brian Cage, if you hear this, please understand who you are. Get your character built up. Like I said, last week, maybe it's time for Brian Cage to step away from Taz's shadow and Taz's management and be his own person. Heck, Richie Stark has more of a personality than Brian Cage does. And I don't even know who the kid was until last week. But I digress. To go into how the ending happened. I did not agree with the ending. Darby Allin grabs a skateboard. This was a Texas Tornado tag match, so anything goes. While Brian Cage gets put in yet another armbar, a very loosely put on armbar by Jon Moxley, and he gets held there, even though he's standing up on his flipping feet in the same ring corner as Darby Allin. Darby Allin climbs to the top rope with this skateboard with thumbtacks glued to the back of it, comes down on Richie Starks. The skateboard leaves, cuts Richie Starks open. He pins him 1, 2, 3. That's all it took to win the match, was to hit Richie Starks with a skateboard with thumbtacks on it. And that cost them the match. Remember last week when Cody got slammed into a pile of thumbtacks and he still went on to compete for another 5 to 10 minutes to win the match? But a skateboard with a good 30 thumbtacks, maybe, if that, wins the match? It doesn't even knock the man unconscious. It wins the match. Brian Cage is held up, and I'm sorry I shook the table, but Brian Cage is held up on the ringside, standing on his feet in the same corner that Darby Allin is, and you couldn't come up with a better ending than that? And then to come to find out that Darby Allin will be challenging Jon Moxley for his AEW championship next week? I'm sorry. I don't agree with that match either. Darby Allin's number 5. Rankings matter in AEW, but yet the number 5 ranked competitor is going for the AEW championship after MJF had just challenged Jon Moxley to a championship match at All In. The logic there is so messed up sometimes. AEW is still finding their footing. I get it. But it's been almost a year. In October, it will be a year. They need to get on the ball on the storytelling and logic behind some of the things that they do. Listen, I enjoy AEW. I'm not bashing them because I hate them. I'm doing a podcast on them. I've done it for weeks now. I like watching AEW. I love listening to the commentary team. JR was grumpy last night. JR was off his game last night. The whole commentary team was off their game last night, in my opinion. The whole commentary team. It wasn't just Jim Ross. The whole commentary team was. From Taz all the way to Shivani. But AEW's got to fix these problems. And Jim Ross even came out and said on the podcast once that, you know what, these young guys, some of them listen, but some of them just start looking away. They don't listen to the veterans that's trying to give them advice. And that's really what I think some of it comes down to, too. Listen, if you're a wrestler in the industry, it's not all about getting your spots. There'll be time for your spots in the future matches. Learn to be a storyteller. Learn to build up the guy you're going against. Learn to, if you got to put him over, put him over. Would you rather get over or be put over? And I'm telling you right now, you're going to want to get over. And getting over is the biggest part of your battle. Once you get over, you will be golden for a long time. So once again, thank you all for tuning in. I'm Mr. Jamez. I promise you I'm coming out with the SmackDown video this week. And tune in to Sunday will be a special video. I have a special guest coming back to the show. Yes, I said back to the show. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and all of you stay golden, Pony Boy.